will be reading Afterimages by Audre Lorde. However the image enters, its force remains within my eyes. Rock-strewn caves where dragonfish evolve, wild for life, relentless and acquisitive, learning to survive where there is no food. My eyes are always hungry and remembering. However, the image enters, its force remains. A white woman stands, bereft and empty, a black boy hacked into a murderous lesson, recalled in me forever, like a lurch of earth on the edge of sleep, etched into my visions, food for dragonfish that learn to live upon whatever they must eat. Fuse images beneath my pain. The Pearl River floods through the streets of Jackson, a Mississippi summer televised. Trapped houses kneel like sinners in the rain. A white woman climbs from her roof to a passing boat, her fingers tarry for a moment on the chimney. Now awash, tearless and no longer young, she holds a tattered baby's blanket in her arms. In a flickering afterimage of the nightmare rain, a microphone thrust up against her flat, bewildered words. We just come from the bank yesterday, borrowing money to pay the income tax. Now everything's gone. I never knew it could be so hard. Despair weighs down her voice like Pearl River mud, caked around the edges. Her pale eyes scanning the camera for help or explanation unanswered. She shifts her search across the watered street, dried-eyed, hard, but not this hard. Two tow-headed children hurl themselves against her, hanging upon her coat like mirrors, until a man, with ham-like hands, pulls her aside, snarling, "She ain't got nothing more to say." And that lie hangs in his mouth like a shred of rotting meat. I inherited Jackson, Mississippi. For my majority, it gave me Emmett Till. His 15 years puffed out like bruises on plump boy cheeks, his only Mississippi summer, whistling a 21-gun salute to Dixie, as a white girl passed him in the street, and he was baptized, my son forever, in the midnight waters of the Pearl. His broken body is the afterimage of my 21st year, when I walked through a northern summer, my eyes averted, from each corner's photographies, newspapers, protests, posters, magazines, police story, confidential, true, the avid insistence of detail, pretending insight or information, the length of gash across the dead boy's loins, his grieving mother's lamentation, the severed lips, how many burns, his gouged out eyes, sews shut upon the screaming covers. Louder than life, all over, the veiled warning, the secret relish of a black child's mutilated body, fingered by street corner eyes, bruise upon livid bruise. And wherever I looked that summer, I learned to be at home with children's blood, with savored violence, with pictures of black, broken flesh, used, crumpled, and discarded, lying amid the sidewalk, refused like a raped woman's face. A black boy from Chicago whistled on the streets of Jackson, Mississippi, testing what he'd been taught was a manly thing to do. His teachers ripped his eyes out his sex, his tongue, and flung him to the Pearl, weighted with stone. In the name of white womanhood, they took their aroused honor back to Jackson and celebrated in a whorehouse the double ritual of a white manhood confirmed. If air and water and earth do not judge them, who are we to refuse a crust of bread? Emmett Till rides the crest of the pearl, whistling. 24 years his ghost lay like the shade of a raped woman, and a white girl has grown older in costly honor. What did she pay to never know its price? Now the Pearl River speaks its muddy judgment, and I can withhold my pity and my bread. Hard, but not this hard. Her face is flat with resignation and despair, with ancient and familiar sorrows, a woman surveying her crumpled future, as a white girl besmirched by Emmett's whistle, never allowed her own tongue without power or conclusion unvoiced. She stands adrift in the ruins of her honor, and a man with an executioner's face pulls her away. Within my eyes, the flickering afterimages of a nightmare reign. A woman wrings her eyes beneath the weight of agonies remembered. I wade through summer ghosts, betrayed by vision, hers and my own, becoming dragonfish to survive the horrors we are living, with tortured lungs adapting to breathe blood. A woman measures her life's damage. My eyes are caves, chucks of etched rock, tied to the ghost of a black boy whistling, crying and frightened. Her tow-headed children cluster, her little mirrors of despair, their father's hands upon them, and soundlessly, a woman begins to weep. The loss of an innocent child's life. You could never experience any physical pain that could hurt so deep as losing a child. Amber Roseberry. The loss of a child is never easy for a parent. It can leave parents and other loved ones extremely devastated and heartbroken for the rest of their lives. However, what if someone lost their children not to natural causes or an accident, but as a result of a pre-planned, racially charged attack? This is a tragic story of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black boy. In 1955, in the time of Jim Crow, and where racial violence against black people was the norm, Emmett Till was beaten, lynched, and mutilated by two white men for allegedly whistling at a white woman. His injuries were so extreme that not even his family could recognize him, and the only recognition they had of him was an initialized ring he wore. As the barbarism of Emmett Till's death, as well as the lack of justice, shook many members of the black community, people such as Audre Lorde decided to speak on the atrocities of this young boy's death. From the beginning to the end of her poem, Afterimages, readers can feel the pain that Emmett Till's death caused so many, as well as visualize the gruesome details of his murder. Unmistakably, Audre Lorde uses her poem Afterimages to bring awareness to the dehumanization of black people in America through poetic devices such as simile, imagery, and denotation. To begin, similes are used commonly in the poem Afterimages in order to highlight many injustices caused by white women during a time where race-fueled lynchings were the norm. Lorde brings this issue to light when she says, Emmett Till rides the crest of the pearl, whistling, 24 years his ghost lay like the shape of a raped woman, and a white girl has grown older in costly honor. What did she ever pay to never know its price? Now the Pearl River speaks its muddy judgment, and I can withhold my pity and my bread. Throughout the poem, the author constantly compares Emmett Till's body to a raped woman's body, as one of the main reasons lynchings occurred was to allegedly protect white women. During this time, the idea of a black man ever talking to a white woman was an inconceivable thought and was a punishable offense. Once a white woman claimed that a black man talked to or raped her, most of the time these were false allegations, the man was brutally lynched by the woman's family or a white mob. Through the constant references to white raped women, the author not only reminds readers of the main reason behind lynchings, but the reason Emmett Till was killed. Also, Lorde brings to light the hand that white women had in the killing of black men and boys when she writes, "I learned to be at home with children's blood, with savored violence, with pictures of black broken flesh, used, crumpled, and discarded, lying amid the sidewalk refuse like a raped woman's face." Similar to the previous example, Lorde uses this stanza to not only compare Emmett Till's body to garbage, but to a raped woman's face. In this time, white womanhood was considered a treasure that must be protected, especially from black men. Though a woman whose womanhood was lost was considered worthless and like garbage. If a black man was accused of being the person who took this treasure, the woman was looked at as a victim and no longer as garbage. This comparison between these three things is extremely important, as it reveals that a black man's life was treated as garbage, something that can be easily thrown away, and though a raped white woman was thought as less valuable. If a black man was found as a culprit of this misfortune, his life became even more disposable. Undeniably, the use of similes found in the poem Afterimages brings to light the many racial injustices caused by white women in the time of Jim Crow. Furthermore, the author uses visual imagery throughout the poem to give readers a detailed description of the pain inflicted upon Emmett Till's body. For example, Lorde uses imagery when she writes, "The severed lips, how many burns, his gouged out eyes sew shut upon the screaming covers, louder than life, all over, the veiled warning, the secret relish of a black child's mutilated body, fingered by street corner eyes, bruised upon livid bruise, and wherever I look that summer." Through this hauntingly accurate description of the way Emmett Till's body was left, Lorde reveals that the dehumanizing treatment that black people across America experienced. Through lines such as "the severed lips, how many burns, his gouged out eyes," readers are given a horrifying image of the brutal killing of Emmett Till. He was beaten and tortured so bad that he became unrecognizable. Though Emmett Till's story made headlines at the time, his death brought awareness to the fact that he was just one of the many victims of racial violence in America. Not only this, but the author's detailed accounts of Emmett Till's inhumane death showed readers that racial violence was so normal in America that it was acceptable to beat, lynch, and mutilate a 14-year-old black boy for merely talking to a white woman. In addition, the author uses visual imagery to describe the brutal murder of Emmett Till and the story behind his murder when she says, "I inherited Jackson, Mississippi. For my majority, it gave me Emmett Till, his 15 years puffed out like bruises on plump boy cheeks, his only Mississippi summer, whistling a 21-gun salute to Dixie, as a white girl passed him in the street and he who baptized my son forever in the midnight waters of the Pearl. In this stanza, Lorde gives readers another account of the horrifying truths behind Emmett Till's death. Just for allegedly whistling at a white woman, he is beaten and thrown into a river like he was being baptized. The author paints the picture of Emmett Till's death in a way that will stick with readers. Lines such as, his 15 years puffed out like bruises, and he was baptized my son forever in the midnight waters of the Pearl, provide readers with some of the gruesome details of the way Emmett Till was tortured and killed. Though the author gives readers sparse descriptions of the way Emmett Till was killed, as well as what led to it, readers are left with a painful image of just one of the many atrocities that occurred throughout America as a result of racism. Undoubtedly, Lorde's use of visual imagery reveals to readers the horrifying way Emmett Till was tortured and murdered. Not only does the author use imagery and simile throughout the poem, she also uses denotation as well to reveal the pain that many members felt as a result of the inhumane killings of Emmett Till. To illustrate, Lorde uses denotation to reveal this when she says, she constantly reveals her own pain she felt. However the image enters, its force remains within. My eyes, rock-strewn caves where dragonfish evolve, wild for life, relentless and acquisitive, learning to survive where there's no food. My eyes are always hungry and remembering. However the image enters, its force remains. Through this example, the author reveals her own pain after learning of the death of Emmett Till, as well as her horror at the pictures of Emmett Till's severed body. She shows through words such as force that she could not stop the image of Emmett Till's body from haunting her, as the literal meaning of force when used as a noun is power. The power of the image stopped the author's attempts of ignoring or forgetting about the senseless killing of Emmett Till. In addition, the author shows her emotions towards the death of Emmett Till when she writes, his broken body is the after image of my 21st year. When I walked through a northern summer, my eyes averted from each corner's photographies, newspapers, protests, posters, magazines, police story, confidential, true, the avid assistance of detail, pretending insight or information, the length of gash across the dead boy's loins, within my eyes, the flickering after images of a nightmare rain. In this stanza, Lorde describes her feelings when she continuously saw the pictures of Emmett Till's severed body in all forms of media text. Lorde reveals through the literal meanings of words such as averted and flickering, her discomfort and inner turmoil at constantly seeing this disturbing images of Emmett Till's body. Readers are shown the author's inner battle at trying to forget the image of his body that has been ingrained in her mind, though she had no affiliation to Emmett Till. Readers can see how deeply affected Lorde was by the inhumane way Emmett Till was killed. Clearly, Lorde uses denotation in the poem Afterimages to show how distraught the Black community became over the death of Emmett Till through her own accounts of her emotions. Undoubtedly, Audre Lorde's poem Afterimages brings awareness to the dehumanization of Black people in America through poetic devices such as simile, imagery, and denotation. While the visual imagery reveals to readers the horrifying way Emmett Till was killed, the simile shed light to the reason he and many other Black people were being lynched. The denotation also reveals how shaken the Black community became by Emmett Till's death. Throughout Afterimages, Lorde shows how society has dehumanized the lives of Black people back then, but also the way their lives continue to be dehumanized. While an accusation could get you killed during the time of segregation and Jim Crow, an accusation can still get a Black person killed in the 21st century. Not only this, but Afterimages demonstrates how disposable Black lives have become in society. It reveals that the dehumanization of Black lives has not changed even after the death of Emmett Till, but has just evolved. Whether it is a killing over allegedly whistling at a white woman or a killing over a broken taillight, Black people continue to get lynched. Without a doubt, Lorde shows all readers that the fight for justice did not end with the civil rights movement of the 1960s, but continues to this day. Thank you.